And if you're watching in the UK on the BBC News channel, you can see Peter's full edition of Panorama on the iPlayer right now. OK, let's turn to a story that's been certainly demanding a lot of our attention today. Turkey's President, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is in Brussels. He's been there to talk about a couple of issues that intertwine with the European Union, Syria and the migrant crisis. Now, the meeting has been in the diary for a while, but it's been given an urgency because of what happened at the weekend. A Russian jet allegedly violated Turkey's airspace near to a town we've marked there called Hatay, very close to the border with Syria. Turkey's Prime Minister has come out with some strong words today. Here's the AFP quoting him on Twitter, warning Turkey will activate the rules of engagement if airspace is violated. By the way, the Russians are saying this was just a navigational error. Despite that, NATO's also joined in. If you look at this tweet from the New York Times, telling us that NATO is warning Russia after the airplane entered Turkish airspace. That much we could definitely have expected. But let me show you this as well from NATO. This is interesting. Today, it's told Russia to immediately cease its attacks on the Syrian opposition and civilians. It doesn't say what will happen if Russia doesn't, but this all plays into concerns that NATO has that Russia is not just attacking Islamic State, but could be attacking the Free Syrian Army. Those are the anti-Assad rebels that the West is backing. And all of these developments play into the fact that Turkey is absolutely vital to understanding the Syrian conflict and also the migrant crisis we've been seeing playing out in Europe. So to help us understand this better, we've made this OS report with Serif Ishler.
The border is a source of tension between many groups. See, Kurds live there, Syrian Kurds live there, and other Kurds want to protect them, and they help them like we saw in Kobani. But Turkey doesn't like the idea of having a Kurdish nationalist or an armed Kurdish group on the border, as they believe it is linked to the PKK organization that Turkey sees as a terrorist organization. At the same time, the Turkish population doesn't like the idea of having Islamic State on the border, which they fear. So Turkey and the border with Syria is always going to be a source of contention for the population. Simply put, the relationship between Syria and Turkey is very tumultuous. Syria and Turkey didn't really get along in the 90s. And then in 2009, there was a rapprochement when then Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan went and visited Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. However, after the pro-democracy protests started, Turkey sided with the West and wanted Assad out. Now, Bashar al-Assad blames the conflict on Turkey solely. The relationship between Turkey and Russia is based on energy and the energy markets. Russia sees Turkey as an important ally when it comes to delivering energy from Russian sources to Europe. However, when it comes to Syria, the two countries think very, very differently. Russia has been helping Bashar al-Assad and supporting them. Turkey has been recently saying, as early as this weekend, that this would be a grave mistake and it would isolate Russia in the region. When the situation got bad in Syria and when migrants started flooding the border, Turkey was very hospitable and very welcoming. The government set up some refugee centers and gave refugees adequate means to carry out a relatively normal life. However, this caused some tension in Turkish society. Turkey already has a high unemployment rate, and Turkish society started to get worried about how long the Syrian migrants would be there and what their impact would be on daily economic life.